Hello and welcome to another edition of our regular podcast on all things recycling and recycling related. That is Recycle, Don't Be a Waster. I almost forgot the name of our own podcast. Not a great start, but hopefully it will pick up through the episode. So one thing, I'm recording this podcast at the end of February 2022, so 20th of Feb, the last day of summer in Australia. And if like me, you have been out on the roads, out in the highways, you might have noticed some adverts, billboards, things like that on the roadsides, also on television and cinema ads, I believe, for a project called Remade Australia or Remade in Australia. And this is it seems to be a federal Australian government, commonwealth government program promoting recycling, but I suppose I would describe it as a new type of recycling, or certainly a new slant on recycling that I think I want to probably draw attention to in today's episode. So I think traditionally recycling in Australia, and I'm sure in many other countries, the branding, the marketing, the promotion, the description of it has really been focused on the traditional recycling concept, i.e., you get an item, you recycle it into a similar item, or the same item again. Whether that's a plastic bottle, a glass bottle, an aluminium can, whatever it is, that's a valuable resource. You take that resource, you process it in a plant, designated plant specializing in that material, and hey presto, out the other end, you produce the same thing all over again. So in theory, you're reusing that item. And that's I suppose the best news story about recycling. It's the story we all like to hear and see, but obviously there are significant issues with that, and we've covered this in previous podcasts. That scenario is certainly true in the examples of glass, in the examples of cardboard, in the examples of aluminium, whereby they're almost perfectly recyclable. You can make them again and again, and an aluminium can, you buy your soft drink or your beer can or whatever it is, you can process it, recycle it, and you can then package the same product again in the exact same material. So that's the good news story. Obviously, when it gets into plastic, and again we've covered this in previous episodes, plastic is a much trickier beast, and plastic, as a rule of thumb, can only be recycled a certain number of times into the same product. The polymers weaken, and you have to add more and more consistently virgin plastic or fresh plastic to make it high enough product to make into the same product again. So recycling of plastic, for a soft drink, again, we'll use that very common item, a soft drink or a water bottle, to recycle it into another bottle, it's not really a closed loop. You need to add more plastic into the mix each time. And if you don't do that, it will degrade and not be high enough quality of material to package anything, really. And this is where this program, sorry, that's a long-winded intro, but that's where this program of Remade Australia, to me, seems to be appearing. It seems to be a slightly different approach to the recycling issue. So it's been branded as Remade Australia, and it really seems to be promoting aspects such as, what I would regard as end-of-life recycling options for low-grade plastic, whereby you can take a material that probably cannot be used for another commercial usage. It's plastic, it's low-grade plastic, it's potentially been recycled X number of times, and the program seems to be about promoting using it for final end-of-life stuff such as roads, flooring, park benches, aspects like that, insulation, stuff, low-grade materials whereby you're using the benefits that material has, but probably not in a commercial manner, and maybe more as an alternative to landfill or incineration for that plant. So is it recycling? It is recycling because you're reusing something in the definition of recycling, but it's probably certainly the last stage, let's call it the last stop on the bus route. We've already got on and off that bus a number of times, and this is the end of the road. So, what's my view on this? I think it's a good idea. I think it's very much following on from the examples of companies such as RedCycle. I think we again covered in a previous episode where in RedCycle you can dispose of your soft plastics those hard to recycle items that can't go in your commingle bin at home or in your business, and it's plastic bags, it's plastic wrap, it's coloured plastics, it's low grade plastics that can't be recycled anywhere else, and they are recycled into, again, very similar low grade materials, insulation, flooring, park furniture, roads as well. And I think we'll probably dedicate an actual episode to the concept of plastic roads, which is a burgeoning sector in Australia and also in other countries, and obviously has the potential to absorb a huge amount of waste plastic, just given the sheer scale of road building. So I think the Remade in Australia program is really piggybacking on this concept. I think there's also another company called Replast who make other stuff such as barriers, plastic barriers, also which are generally done through a charitable basis, I believe. And it's piggybacking on that concept, and it's utilising the same approach. And I think, my personal view is, I think it is useful. It's making people aware of maybe we're backing away from the concept of the traditional concept of recycling over and over again, without in a closed loop format, without any hiccups. This clearly is more of a end of the road style approach, and I think it is important, and it's I think it's a very opportune time for Australia to discuss this and to raise the issues about what do we do with this. Even if we're recycling as much as possible, we still can't recycle everything, and it has to go somewhere. And so this aspect of plastic roads, plastic buildings, park furniture, etc., probably is not that bad an option, in the intermediate phase. Obviously, the next question is, nothing lasts forever. Obviously, plastic can last a very long time, but it will degrade. Road building, and we'll cover this in the future episode. But this park furniture, etc., fundamentally, that is the end of the road for it, and it will probably still have to end up in landfill. Once that park gets renovated, once that park bench degrades over a period of time, whether through sunlight or whatever it is out in the open elements. And so theoretically, it's delaying the inevitable. It's a delaying the inevitable. But obviously with that, you are preventing or reducing the need for new materials, new carbon or petrol-based, petrochemical-based production. So it has to be seen as a net benefit for the environment, and clearly is better than dumping a landfill. Obviously, it will not last forever, and it's an intermediate phase. How long that phase lasts, who knows? But eventually, it will have to either face the same issue that all plastic faces sooner or later, which is landfill or fundamentally incineration. So, I think it's an interesting step. I think it's obviously useful as long as we're building items and materials that people actually want, that give them a benefit. Obviously roads are beneficial to people if they go in directions that people want to travel. Park furniture, etc. Of course, we just need to be sure that we're not just utilising something to make a useless product that nobody really needs or wants. End of the day, park furniture, etc. is useful, but is it better than a wooden bench, or even, do we always need these items? So I suppose it's not a complete solution to the problem, of plastic that we've made for ourselves, but clearly it's certainly not the worst option. It's not the worst way to deal with these product problems, and certainly is better than landfill, as long as with the one big proviso that these materials are well maintained, they're looked after, they're not degrading out in the open atmosphere, in the wind and the rain. We're not seeing microplastics blow away into rivers, wildlife, etc., which obviously those are severe negatives that we would have to look at also. But I think in general, I'd like to hear your feedback on when you see these ads, when you see them. I saw one in the cinema the other day, I saw one on the highway, and I'd be interested to see what you think of them and what you think of the project. So again, I think it's always good to discuss the latest news, and I think we'll leave it there today with the, again, recycle, don't be a waster.